I do too. We worked on your area paper. You should have that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I did not write, this is actually 8-2. I don't want you to write this yet because the paper I'm going to give you has some white space at the top so that you can write this. But I want you to stop what you're doing, stop writing, and look at me for just a minute, okay? If you had alpha last year, you probably know what the prefix COM means. What does the prefix COM mean? Okay, tell me some words that start with COM. Compound. That start with COM.
Computer.
Computer.
Company.
Shh, Josh.
Complete.
All right, so let's look at these right here. Just because they're at the top of my list. So if I have something that's a compound, is it one thing or more than one?
More than one.
More than one. If I combine something, is it one thing or more than one? More than one. Okay. So what do you think the prefix COM means? More than one. To put together. You put together more than one thing. So what do you think a composite figure is? A figure that's what?
More than one part.
More than one shape, okay? So a composite figure is going to be made up of more than one shape. Now, your notes page looks like this, and there should be enough space at the top for you to write this focus statement. So I want you to tape it in, and I want you to write your focus statement. Well, did we finally get to the part where area was easy?
Yes.
If you think area is easy, then this part is easy. What,
Wait,
Jamarius?
I got two more.
I don't got no tape. Fix that for me, please. Then you need to borrow from tape behind you. I don't know what happened to y'all's tape. Okay, thank you. Y'all aren't missing anybody today? Nope.
Were you missing anybody?
Mm-hmm.
What was the focus statement?
Oh, I'll go back. I'm sorry. I can calculate the area of composite figures. Who needs a paper? Who needs a paper?
It was up here. I gave you one.
I know. Then somebody over there said they didn't have one, so I was trying to figure out who it was. All right, ready?
But I thought when you combine something as a one.
But, so if I combine the ingredients for a cake, what am I doing?
Putting a lot of stuff together.
Putting a lot of stuff together, okay? So when we have a composite figure, we're putting a lot of shapes together. Does that make sense? To make one. You are making one, But you're taking a lot of things and putting it together to make that one thing. Does that make better sense? Okay. All right. When I've taught composite figures in the past, students have kind of struggled with this one. Okay. So I went in search of some YouTube explanations because I know that we're short on time before SC Ready, and some different ways to organize our thoughts and the information that I needed for you to have. Well, in the past I've used what I've created, okay? This time I found this particular sheet and I really, really, really like it, okay? So I decided to use it this way this time to see how we all like it, all right? Now, the first thing up here, it asks us, what does composite mean? So what does composite mean? What does it mean? Jenna, what did we just say? We put more than one together. We're putting more than one shape together to make one shape, okay? Now, the steps are over here. We have to take the shape and we have to split it up into parallelograms, rectangles, or rhombus, and we have triangles, okay? After we split it up, we're going to find the area of each of the smaller shapes. Then we're going to add them together, okay? So all we're doing is you've got to figure out what shapes make up the funky shape, and then it's easy from there. We've done all of that area calculating before. I did give you right here these two formulas. I didn't black those out. I was tempted to, but I didn't. And let's look at example 1. Did everybody see example 1? What shapes is example 1 made of? 2 rectangles. So I'm going to separate it like this. Okay, let's separate it. Could I have done my line up and down?
Yes.
Yeah, could have. It didn't matter. Okay. I'm going to do it this way just because I think it looks better that way. No real reason. I'm also going to letter my shapes, okay? Numbers can get in the way, so I'm going to do an A and I'm going to do a B. So I can keep them separate, okay? A and B. Now, down here at the bottom, you see it's got my work, and it's got the small shape areas part and the total area. So I'm going to put an A right here and a B right here to know which shape we're working on when we're figuring out the area of each of the smaller shapes, okay? So let's look at A. What's the formula for the area of a rectangle?
Base times height.
Base times height. So what is the base and the height of that rectangle? 8 times 15. So I'm going to come down here, and I've got 15 times 8. I want you to do that. Yes, sir. You're going to have to wait a minute unless it's an absolute emergency. It is? Go, son. I got it. All right, what is 8 times 15? 120. And it doesn't tell me the units, so I'm just going to put units squared. Okay? Doesn't tell me what they are, so I'm just going to put units squared. All right, what shape is B? Rectangle. So what's the formula? Base times height. What is the base of that rectangle? The base is 10, the height is 12. I want you to do 12 times 10. So what are we going to do to find the total? Add them. We have 120 plus 120 is what? Units squared. All we're doing is breaking it apart and putting it back together again. It's like Humpty Dumpty, but we can put this back together, okay? All right. I want everybody to put their pencil down because I want to show you something, okay? Now, let's look here. This whole side right here is what? 20. If we look over here, it's broken up into
12,
and
5,
8. What's 12 plus 8? 20. So my two pieces equal that big long piece, all right? Let's look up here. What's the length of this one? 15. I've got 5 plus 10. 5 plus 10 is, no, 5 plus 10 is 15. Do the two pieces equal the big piece? Yes. Okay? This, once you get the hang of it and you see the different shapes, it is pretty easy. Let's look at example 2. How would we break example 2 into two different shapes? You would cut it at the top and make it a triangle and a rectangle. So let's label these A and B.
Is there gonna be more than one? I meant more than two shapes.
Yep. We're going to practice that on the left in just a second. All right, so what's the formula for the area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2. Now, this is a little tricky. What's the base of my triangle?
4,
4. What's the height?
5,
5. Divided by 2.
10,
20 divided by 2 is 10. Y'all, I'm going to go ahead and write it over here to save me a step in a minute. 10 units squared. Now what do we have to do, Alvon? What's the formula for a rectangle? What's the formula for a rectangle?
base times height.
Base times height. What is the base of this rectangle?
4,
4. And the height is 20. So what's the area of that rectangle? 80 units squared. So what's the total area? 90 units squared. All right, show me a fist of 5 of how comfortable you feel. Wait a minute. My questions are going to be tricky. I've got 2 questions. Fist of 5. How comfortable do you feel breaking the shape apart into different shapes? How comfortable do you feel figuring out the area once you've broken apart the shapes? Okay. All right, let's practice a little bit more. Now, last week when we were practicing area, okay, I gave you the sheet to put on the left side because I didn't want you to worry about drawing the figure. Well, today we have composite figures, which means we have more than one shape making up a total shape, all right? I'm not going to ask you to draw those. I've copied those for you to put on the left side of your paper, okay? Because I just felt like it was not something that we needed to spend time for you to figure out how to draw. So this needs to go on the left side. Oh, no, he got it. He got the tape. Alvon. Alvon. Hush.
That wasn't me, that was...
Who was it? How do y'all have 2 things of tape over there? I think y'all must have Hayden and Jamarius's tape.
No, they were gonna take it when we were Charlie was out there by ourselves. Stole it. You could be ashamed of yourself. Stole tape. How did it come off there?
Hmm?
I don't want to do that one.
All right. The first one. Well, I want you by yourself to break that one apart into two shapes. Break it apart into two shapes. Yes, sir. Okay. All right, so tell me, how do we break this shape apart?
Make it a triangle and a rectangle.
What'd you make it, Ava?
What? I didn't do that.
We could make it into a trapezoid, but y'all, a triangle is way easier than a trapezoid. My suggestion to you is to make it into a triangle. Okay, actually, that was not a trapezoid. How many sides did that have? It was a pentagon. Do we know how to figure out the area of a pentagon? No, so we can't do that anyway. So we've got how many shapes? Two. A and B. We've got a triangle and a rectangle. So let's figure out our triangle. What's the formula for the area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2. What is the base of this triangle? 7. What's the height? 3. What's 7 times 3? Now, 21 divided by 2 is what? 10. And I've got 1/2 left over. And what are my units this time?
Centimeter squared.
Centimeters squared. Is it because the window's open? Huh? Is this better? All right, B. What's my formula for B?
Base times height.
What is the base of my rectangle?
14.
What's the height?
6.
All right, do that.
14
14
times 6.
times 6. It's what? 84. So what's my total?
94 and
94 and a half centimeters. Yes, sir.
When I go to the nurse, I feel sick. Like I'm gonna puke. That was not circle giraffe that I got every day, but it doesn't really look like a giraffe. And you get that back.
Here, Hayden. have no words. All right, let's look at the one right here. I want you to break this one apart into two shapes. Break this one apart into two shapes. You did it. What'd you do?
I got my total area.
What? Girl.
And I made a rectangle and a triangle.
All right, so we have A and we have B. And I'm going to do my work over here so y'all can see it. What's the formula for the area of a triangle?
Base times height divided by 2.
What is the base of that triangle?
Oh, the base of it is
10. What's the height?
10. 9. And then you get 90 and you divide that by 2.
Can we do 10 divided by 2?
Yes. That's
Which is
5.
what?
5.
5 times 9 is what? 45 feet
Squared.
squared. So over here I'm going to write that because I know I've got to add it.
Isn't the feet like the 2 that
Yeah. Feet squared because you multiply two numbers together. All right, B. What's my formula for B? Base times height. What's the height? What's the base?
The base is
10. And what's the height? What's 10 times 3? And what are my units? Feet squared. So what's my total? 75 feet squared. All right, let's look at the one on the left, the bottom left, okay? Everybody look at the one on the bottom left. How many shapes are we going to have to break that one into?
3.
3. We are going to do this one. Let's see. I'm going to erase this work right here so I can write my work up there. Let's do this. Let's go this way and this way. And let's have A, B, C. What shape is A? A rectangle. So what's the formula? Base times height. A. What's the base of that rectangle? 6. Look, Elvon, you got it right here. Be the same thing. What's the height? 5. What is 6 times 5? What are my units? Inches squared. Wait a minute. What's next? The rectangle. So what's the formula for the area of a rectangle? What's the base of this rectangle? 10. What's the height? 4. What's 10 times 4? And what are my units? What shape is C? So what's the formula? What's the base?
The base is
1. What's the height?
4.
What's 1 times 4? What is 4 divided by 2? So we have 30 plus 40 plus 2. So what's the total? 72 inches squared. All right, I want you to look at that last shape on the bottom right. I want you to break that shape apart into 3 shapes. I want you to break it apart and I want you to label it A, B, and C. What shape is A?
Triangle.
A triangle. So what's my formula? What's the base of that triangle?
20. I mean, no, it's 2.
It's what? What's the base?
2.
No.
8.
8.
Oh.
What's the height?
2.
What's 8 divided by 2?
8 divided by 2.
4. What is 4 times 2?
8.
And what are my units?
Feet squared.
8 feet squared. What shape is B?
B is rectangle.
So what's my formula? What's the base?
28.
What's the height? 8. What's 20 times 8?
160.
All right, then we've got C. What shape is C? So what's the base? What's the height? Same thing we had earlier. So what is that?
Feet squared.
So what's my total? 176 feet squared. You do have good math up there in that brain.